Okay, so yeah, my wife and I are going out to see Black Panther when it debuts this Friday, for sure. For sure. All right. No if, and buts. I'm definitely going to support this film. I'm going to watch it multiple times, actually. But I came across this change.org petition. And I saw it on Instagram, and I was like, okay, this is quite interesting, right? But I'm gonna be honest. When I first saw this on Instagram, the first thing that came to my mind, because I saw the title, it said 25% of Marvel Studios' profit from Black Panther film invested in black communities. I said to myself, what is a black community? Right? That's a rhetorical question, right? That's a rhetorical question. What is a black community? Right? Rhetorical question. There is no black communities. So I don't know, I use the term black communities for the sake of conversation, but when you peel the layers back, family, when you peel the layers back, you realize there really is no such thing as a black community. All right? There has never been a black community post segregation. Post segregation. The only time we were allowed to have a so-called black community was during the Jim Crow era. During the time where they have meritorious manumission laws and slave codes, where we were allowed to congregate amongst one another, have our own infrastructure and businesses, where our dollar will circulate multiple times within our own community because we were allowed to do so. But you see, the dominant white society saw that as too powerful, and so they broke that up. But now, a black community in the 21st century, post-segregation, there is no such thing as a black community. So when I saw this, that's the first thing I said. I'm like, donate 25% of the profits from the Black Panther film to black communities. Now, there's a lot of layers in this, right, that I can definitely going to break down in this video. Starting with the aforementioned black communities. There's no such thing as black communities. Like I said, I live in Miami Gardens. For most of you who don't know, if you follow me for a while, I've been in Miami Gardens for 10 years, living in Miami Gardens. Miami Gardens, the city of Miami Gardens, is the largest populated city for people classified as black or African American. So I live in the blackest city in the state of Florida. Look it up. It's on Wikipedia. Miami Garden population of 109,068 is the largest city in Florida that has a majority African American population. Right? Our municipality, of course, is Miami-Dade County. So we have, right, a black mayor, which is this guy right here, Oliver Gilbert, who was just recently at the Trayvon Martin rally. Shout out to my brother who attended this event. I heard it was great. I wasn't there, obviously. I had things I had to take care of with my family, but I wasn't there. And there's Jay-Z with Trayvon Martin's family. Okay. We have black city officials. We have a black police chief. We have black city commissioners, right? But guess what? Even though our city, which is predominantly black or people classified as non-white, even though that is the case, our city is owned and controlled by white businesses, by white infrastructure. It's easy. You just go out into the street and you will see the businesses that are in our quote unquote communities. You see that every particular business, and we thrive on taxes, right? These businesses we need in order for our city to thrive economically. So we allow these, well, we have to accept them rather, I should say. We accept these white-owned businesses to come into a city like Miami Gardens and set up shop. Right? We have Hard Rock Stadium here that has been refurbished, rebuilt with a new canopy roof, if you will. Hundreds of $millions spent on that by the multi-billionaire owner of the Miami Dolphins. All right. He owns that team. He owns the stadium. Okay. And because that money was invested in the stadium, right? Miami-Dade County said, well, you know what? Because you invested money in the stadium yourself, which is about $400 million the last time I checked, the city said, we're going to ensure that businesses flourish around the stadium. We're going to set up brand new businesses. We're going to set up brand new hotels. And they're still building this as we speak in Miami Gardens. We're going to set up brand new businesses, hotels. We're going to make sure the city looks great because we anticipate a mega event to come in our city, which is the Super Bowl, which is happening in 2020. And that has happened. It is now confirmed. Well, it's been confirmed for a while that the Super Bowl will come back to Miami in the year 2020. All because money was spent to revitalize that football stadium for the Miami Dolphins and to bring in tourists into the city and to make sure to attract those tourists that businesses, white-owned businesses, flourish and they get as much breaks as possible. So the city that's populated by people classified as non-white depend on local, state, and federal funding. Right? And white-owned businesses, which contributes to the dominant white society. So we have a thing where we always continue to depend on their resources. Going back to this petition, this guy that posted this, Chas Gormley, indicates that we need to ask money for Walt Disney Company. And ironically enough, Walt Disney Company, who was the parent owner of Marvel Studios, is the parent owner of ESPN, which all of y'all watch, including myself. Of course. Of course, most men watch ESPN. But my point is that we depend on them so much. Hey, I know you've been mistreating us, subjugating us, for a very long time. We're going to ask you to give us some money, right? To help our quote unquote black communities. Okay, so I read this petition and there's no mention about what kind of black communities is he talking about. Like I mentioned before, there's no such thing as a black community. There never has been since post-segregation. There's never been a black community. It's just a city that's populated by people classified as non-white. That's it. You don't own or control anything. Like I said, Miami Gardens is city officials black, police chief black, city commissioners black, but we depend on white businesses. We depend on local, state, and federal funding for everything. You go down to, if y'all are subscribed to my channel, you in Miami Gardens or in the surrounding areas, y'all know the area. Okay, go to 22nd Avenue and 183rd. Go down that street. You see church on every corner. Guess what? You got a black church, right? The building is financed by a white bank. Right? Okay, so you got so-called black churches taking out mortgage loans and things of that nature to finance their church from a white-owned bank, a white-owned institution. You got liquor stores, you got gas stations, white-owned or non-black owned in the communities. Again, white-owned businesses setting up shop in areas that have people classified as non-white populating those areas. That is not a black community. That's never been a black community. So with this petition, the term, like I said, the term black community is real insipid. It doesn't mean anything. There's no black community. You peel the layers back, there's no such thing as black communities. All right? There's no such thing as black communities. He did mention in this particular petition that he wants Marvel Studios or Walt Disney Company to invest in STEM programming in quote unquote black communities, which is still an insipid term. All right. It's still a very insipid term. You can't have the STEM program in quote unquote black communities where the community itself isn't owned or controlled by the very same people you're asking a white owned company to fund. Which follows the cycle over and over again of us depending on their resources for everything. We're asking for handouts here. Right? So, and I've mentioned this before, about actually what I should say is this, right? Okay, so what will be the next step? Because, obviously it sounds like you don't agree with this petition. I don't agree with this petition because, for one, like I mentioned to you before, there's no such thing as a black community. And number two, why would you ask for the movie studio, the parent company, Walt Disney Company, to ask for money for a movie, Black Panther, with a predominantly black cast, right? That's produced by Marvel Studios. Why would you ask them for funds, right? When you had so many predominantly black owned movies produced by Hollywood movie production companies doing the very same thing, targeting a black audience. Why the timing now? Right? Too little, too late. This is way too late for asking for money. You shouldn't just be targeting Black Panther. All right? You shouldn't be targeting that. What was the last movie that I saw that had a black superhero? I was with Will Smith. Hancock. That did very well in the box office. A black superhero, right? And there's others that I can't think of right now, but y'all know what I'm saying. There's a whole bunch of movies, particularly superhero movies with a predominantly black cast or a leading character in a superhero film that targets black people. Okay? There's a plethora of them that I can't think of right now, but I'm pretty sure you guys can name some in the comments section. But this is the I understand what this guy Chaz is trying to do. I guess he's trying to raise awareness of this, but this is the wrong way to do it. This is the wrong way to do it. Okay. And this is not, and not only that, asking for money from a studio, Walt Disney World, asking for money from them to put in the quote unquote black communities, it's not going to solve or do anything for us. It's not. What we need to focus on, and if you follow my channel for any significant amount of time, what do I always talk about? What do I always talk about? right? The black family structure. Okay? The focus needs to be not only the black family structure, but creating generational wealth. You go back and if you go back into these statistical reports from the Pew Research Center, all right, you find, of course, the average black household income compared to people classified as non-black. The stats are ridiculously different. Excuse me. They're astronomical. All right? Astronomical. So here's one that comes right to mind that's in this paragraph. For example, it says here, for example, among those with a bachelor's degree, blacks earn significantly less than whites. $82,300 for black households versus $106,600 for whites. In fact, the income of blacks at all levels of education attainment lags behind that of their white counterparts. All right, and I'm just gonna, just give you guys an overview of these stats here. Blacks still trail whites in college completion. Okay. Black-white high school completion gap narrows. Hispanics lags behind. Black-white income gap remains large. All right. And the stat was first initiated in the 1960s. And as you can see, it continues to trend. We're at the bottom of the totem pole in every statistical category you can think of. Right? Look at that. 24,000 to 43,000. And Asians are on top. Blacks more than twice as likely as whites to be poor. What do I say? Epigenetics, your surroundings, how you brought up. Whites have significantly higher levels of wealth than blacks. Of course, they had a 500-year head start. A 500-year head start. Of course. Of course, right? So, I mean, again, how do you close that gap? How do you close that gap of that advantage where, it's going to take more than a century to amass wealth compared to a white household? How do you close that gap? Again, this goes back into the black family structure. All right. Here's some more stats. Blacks twice as likely as whites to be unemployed. Non-marital births more than twice as common among blacks as whites. Just over half of black children live with a single parent. That sounds familiar. That sounds very familiar, as you can see here. This is the 1967 report by Patrick D. Moynihan, something I always talk about on my channel. Almost 1/4 of Negro families are headed by females. This is in the 1960s. All right, and here's an illegitimacy ratio per 1,000 non-white births from 1950 to 1962. See, these I'm going to current stats or more recent stats to all the way from the 1950s and 60s, and it's exact same way. Almost 1/4 of non-white females are headed by a woman. Right? So it's way deeper than giving money to quote unquote black communities. It's way deeper than that. It's way deeper than that. Right? The problem starts at home. The problem starts at educating and understanding the values of the black family structure. Right? That's where it starts. And by all means, for myself, I am definitely not perfect at all. But what I learned from myself and the mistakes that I've made, trials and tribulations, I share with you guys information I think is vital and helpful. So rather than saying, the brother that posted this petition is saying, well, what he did was trash and he shouldn't have never done it. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is he went about it the wrong way. He went about it the wrong way. I do give him props on raising awareness of this, but he did it the wrong way. Right? And again, I gave you a prime example of a solution that needs to be implemented. Right? That needs to be implemented in black society, which is understanding and improving the black family structure. As you get older, or even growing up, it's a repeatable cycle. Most of you guys come from single parent homes. And then that cycle continues as you have children out of wedlock, right? It continues out of wedlock. And so the value of the family, the value of a black family's worth, right? And a worth has nothing to do with how much you make. It's how much you keep, how much you save. That's what they're talking about here. They're talking about, from the Pew Research report, they're talking about black household average income, or the wealth rather, the black household wealth. They're talking about how much money you keep, not how much money you make. Okay? So there needs to be more education on that. All right? More education on that and understanding that needs to change. These stats from the 1960s, from the Patrick D. Moynihan, the case for the Negro family, from Patrick D. Moynihan up until now. All right, these stats have not changed. They've gotten worse. The case for national action, the Negro family. This stat has gotten worse. It's gotten worse. This is what our main focus needs to be on. Our main focus needs to be on this. Improving the black family structure. It's just that simple. All right? Until we improve that, we can actually have or start implementing a black community. All right? And when we have real black communities, we can master us not depending on the dominant white society's resources. And of course, that's going to take a long time. A long time. Right? But this education has to start from the ground up, from a grassroots level. All right. So anyway, family, those are my thoughts about the petition. Leave your comments down below about this petition. Let me know what you guys think. He has a hashtag #BreakBreadMarvel. Again, you're just asking for handouts. That's just not that's the wrong way of doing it, man. It's the wrong way of doing it. But let me know what you guys think about this petition right now. There's, as the date of this video, there's over 5,995 people that have signed, and he's looking to get 7,500 signatures. Again, there's no nobody knows what the working definition is of a black community, because again, there is no such thing as a black community. You can't donate to something that doesn't exist. You can't. Black community is an oxymoron. So you cannot donate to something. You cannot give money to something that does not exist. It does not exist. All right. All right, family. So those are my thoughts on that. Leave your comments down below in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think, and let me know if you're going to be supporting Black Panther this Friday. I will be out with my wife. I'm gonna do a review on the movie as well. Check my Instagram. I will probably do. Well, I'm gonna have some photos of my wife and I out seeing the movie, but I'm also probably gonna do some commentary after I watch it. I'll post a live reaction on Instagram, and I'll do a follow-up video on YouTube as well as all my social media links, Black Junction TV, all that stuff. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure if you're new, subscribe and hit that notification bell for all my latest and greatest content. Until next time, family, Chauncey, aka the Black Separatist, signing out.